It's that time of year for Oscar. Yes, the 96th Academy Awards are next month, March 10th to be exact. And, you know, it's been a while since the geeks here at the Expanded Universe have offered up our predictions, opinions, gripes, and hypes about Oscars. So, will it be a Barbenheimer night or an Oppenbarbie night? Or maybe a flower moon killing evening? Will the celebrity presenters look like stale holdovers? And will we, the viewers, feel like poor things giving up our past and present lives as we endure a 10-hour telecast and lose our zone of interest? Will it seem like season 90 of Grey's Anatomy of a Fall? Is this opening I wrote my stroke of genius? Or, okay, you get the idea. Welcome, all you movie fans, for this special Oscars episode of Cinema Craptaculus Presents the Expanded Universe. I am your host, John H.H., and with me as always are my Geek-tacular Oscars co-hosts.
This is Doc.
And Smoore! Hooray for Hollywood! Hollywood!
Well done, guys. Well done. 96 years. I can't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to do for the 100th? Well, assuming it'll be around, it could be just done.
Yeah, right. It might
They got to hold out for 4 more years.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel, you got to do 5 more. 4 more after this, then you can tap out. You got to get to 100.
Poor Jimmy. He's so good.
Poor
that
Jimmy,
they
poor
tap him all the
audience
time.
members.
Are movie theaters still going to be a thing in 4 years? Are they going to have to eliminate that requirement to be nominated?
I think they might.
They might. You never know. Things are changing all the time.
I'm out of the time zone. So for the last 2 years, I've had to wake up to the results, which for me is horrible. Do you guys watch the telecasts?
I do. Even though I have serious problems with the structure of award shows in general, it reminds me of my childhood. My mom and I used to watch it all the time, so it brings back certain nostalgia. But I mean, it's getting harder every year. I'll be perfectly honest.
Yeah, honestly, for me, sadly, I dropped off around pandemic and I just haven't hopped back on. But I do keep track online.
Oh, yeah.
I just wonder if there's really a bump to these movies now. You know, the old days is you'd have the studios they'd have their blockbusters throughout the year. And then around the fall, close to Christmas, put out their prestige films that would be up for Oscar consideration. You know, they'd have to, I think the stipulation is they have to be exhibited in, I don't know if it's a certain number or just in a theater before December 25th or whatever the cutoff is. But then they would maybe release it officially in January or February. And they kind of like to have that prestige film. I don't know if they really care anymore. I don't know.
I wonder, and I've done none of the research on this, and I probably should and eventually will. I wonder I know in the past, whenever they had a nomination, viewership would probably go up because people are interested in seeing these movies. I wonder if that's still the case right now.
It's possible, especially if movies are available for streaming. I know that's what I did. It's I automatically hopped online and checked the streaming services to see what was available to watch it. Unfortunately, I'm not really going to the theater to see a lot of these movies, but It does, pique my interest when they get nominated.
Well, I think that the pandemic aside, there was a decline before the whole structure of movie-going was affected by the pandemic and other factors. And we've talked about it a million times on our show about the lack of training the younger generation to really watch movies. That's the detriment to the box office, the industry, and certainly to award shows. But, they increased the number of nominated films to, 10?
Yeah.
8? I don't know what the official count is.
It's 10, but it fluctuates.
Yeah, they did that after The Dark Knight, I remember, because people were like, that was kind of like a big movie, and maybe we should allow films that people actually watched. And I think that's always the problem is there's a chicken and egg. If the film gets awards or gets nominated, people will maybe go see it. But there was a time where that wasn't an issue. I mean, remember 1995, it was all the films that previous year. It was Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, 4 Weddings. These were movies that people saw, so people were excited. Now it's oh yeah, Barbie. What are the others?
I personally think that since the beginning, there's a certain amount of snobbery to Academy Award nominations, in that the people who nominate a lot of these films feel that, these are cultural experiences that people should watch. So I think there's a little impetus to get people to do the right thing, so to speak, and watch these films to be a little bit more cultured. And I think eventually Hollywood just realized that, or the Academy just realizes that people truly don't care. They're going to watch what they're going to watch. We should be more inclusive now.
It's funny you say inclusive, though, because there's probably a good chunk of America that feel left out with the types of films that get nominated.
Yeah.
So when we say inclusive, I think it's inclusive in the industry. But in terms of movie-going audiences, they rarely nominate comedies. They rarely nominate action films. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The fact that Barbie's on there is kind of amazing because kind of like it's this year's Top Gun Maverick, meaning it's a populist film that was well done and had things to say, but it was also, a box office success.
Oh, God, yeah.
And, if it wasn't on there, I think there would be a big gaping hole.
Also, I think Barbie has a message within the movie as well. And I think the people who have nominated this film recognize that. Not only is it a popular film, but it actually has a message that the producers and directors want to convey to the public.
I think a lot of people will be dismissive of the movie because it's based on a doll. So most people will just kind of overlook it and just say that's just fluff. But yeah, you're right. It does have a pretty strong message.
I'd be very curious to see the demographic breakdown in the viewership of the Academy Awards ceremony. Meaning that do you just see people in blue states watching it? And not that it needs to just cater to one side or the other. The Oscars used to be something that the country would watch.
Right.
And I don't think it's been that way for a while. Not just because they're not nominating, Fast and the Furious in the Best Picture category. I think it has to do with people really are very divided. And something is viewed as sort of elitist as the Oscars turns a lot of America off.
So, John,
you guys agree?
I do agree. But are you saying that the audience for the Oscars is the baby boomer liberals?
I don't know. I haven't seen the demos. I don't know. I mean, first of all, not many young people watch TV.
That's true.
I mean, TV in quotes, you know what I mean? Like broad, unless it's a sporting event. I don't know.
Boys and girls, back in the day, we used to have this thing called television. It's a tube that's in your house.
Yeah, most of the time, people just stream shows, but they stream it on their mobile devices, and that's it.
So how does Oscars make watching the show cool again? They always try with hosts. They try to shake things up, and sometimes with disastrous results.
Here's what you do. You get Post Malone, Taylor Swift to host. You nominate movies like Fast and the Furious, any superhero movie. You make it 30 minutes and you make it downloadable and streamable on all your apps across all platforms. That's how you get people to watch.
And the next day, chop it up into small little videos and put it on YouTube.
Basically, the Oscars telecast will be live on TikTok.
Yes, pretty much. That's how you get people to watch.
Well, I don't think there's going to be much next year because there's hardly any films coming out in 2024. So,
and the winner is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Nominated in every category because
Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor,
Ryan Reynolds. And here's Ryan Reynolds streaming from his home in Canada. Thank you.
They had to put Wade Wilson in supporting and put Deadpool in Best Actor.
Song of the Year, Skrillex.
Skrillex? God. That's so 2010s, Doc. Come on, man.
No, man, that's what Deadpool listens to. It's like they always bring that back. He always mentions dubstep.
We were going to do an episode, would be preview 2024. And I'm looking at the films of 2024 and I'm like, that will be a 5-second episode, which, maybe would be good. Here's our preview of 2024. One movie from Marvel. Thank you.
You have one movie from Marvel, you have Dune 2, and you have Kong and Godzilla.
And the winner is...
no. Well, it's funny because you brought up streaming, and a lot of, as we go through each category with I guess we're going to do predictions.
Yes.
And opinions and hypes and gripes. I think that we're going to see a lot of these films were like, well, where is that? Which studio? Amazon, Netflix, right. Amazon, Netflix.
Right.
Should we go through the let's go to the bathroom categories and then do Best Picture at the end?
Well, let's start with the bathroom categories. By the way, we respect all categories, all industries. Everyone deserves to be recognized. Everyone deserves credit. So we're not making fun of your profession. Please don't pick at us.
Just to sort of apologize, I will actually refill my beverage during Best Actor presentation, okay? I will be there front and center for Best Sound Editing.
Yes. Please don't cancel us.
Just a heads up, we haven't seen a lot of these movies, so a lot of these are just going to be shots in the dark.
Oh, and don't forget, this category list is half of what it used to, because then they boot them all over to the kiddie table Oscars to try to shorten the telecast.
Yes, they did. Because, the telecast
Ooh.
used to be like 8 hours long. Now it's only 4.
Yeah. All right. One of you guys just pick a category and we'll throw out our thoughts. We'll try to get through these.
Okay.
So we don't have an Oscars length podcast.
Gotcha. Okay. How about drum roll, please? Short animated film.
No clue.
No clue. Letters to a Pig, 95 Senses.
Is that even? That's not even on the list.
It is on the list. Short film animated.
Really?
Really? Bro, you create this list.
Oh yeah, you're right. God, I'm so disrespectful. I think I went to the bathroom during it. That's why.
As you're creating a list.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I see it.
All right.
Letter to a Pig, 95 senses. Our uniform. Is that pachyderm?
Pachyderm.
Pachydermy.
Pachydermy.
The E is silent. Pachyderm.
Yeah, sorry. War is Over. And those are the nominees.
Yes.
No, not just War is Over. In parentheses, inspired by the music of John and Yoko. I love it when the title's super long, like Borat, unnecessarily long.
Which is funny.
Dr. Strangelove. Yeah, this is one of those ones where nobody probably saw, but people who work in animation, who are maybe in the Academy, they will have an opinion because they probably
don't hate us, Audrey. I haven't seen or heard of these films.
So you're saying we're guessing?
Yes, which makes it fun.
They are shorts, so we can just hop on right now and just watch them really quick, and then come back, regroup, and then give our opinions.
I think people look at these and they go for the title that they like. Like I like Letter to a Pig just for no reason because I think that's funny.
I like the same thing.
It's probably not funny. A Letter to a Pig is probably some deathly serious about death row inmates or something, or atrocities in Syria, and I'm like, Letter to a Pig, that sounds cute.
Ooh. So are we unanimous? Is that our pick?
I don't know. I see War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko, Beatles, John Lennon, rest in peace. So it's got some cred right there.
Oh, so wait, is that your pick
or
that's
your
my prediction?
That's my Letter to a Pig might win because it's the first one on the list. So people are just going to go, that's good.
That's true. It's first one on this list.
Okay, just to be a contrarian, I'm going to choose 95 senses because who the hell has 95 senses, man? Are you an alien? Are you, mutant? Is that what this is?
If you have 95 senses, you are probably insane because that's torture to have 95. 6 are bad enough.
Oh, so edible weed culture. Got it. So if you're high, you have 95 senses. Got it.
All right, moving on.
Original song.
All right, so we've got Fire Inside, Flamin' Hot, I'm Just Ken from Barbie, It Never Went Away from American Symphony, Hushasha from Killers of the Flower Moon, and What Was I Made For, also from Barbie. Oh, 2 from the same. That splits the vote sometimes.
That's true.
That's not good.
That's true.
Yeah, totally.
Well, my pick is I'm Just a Ken. I'm Just Ken because I actually know that song because it's funny.
I'm just a Ken in the world.
Yeah, I'm going to go for What Was I Made For, Barbie. So yeah, Ford, you're right. Split the vote.
Well, that would be not 2 in a row, but 2 within 3 years for Billie Eilish. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, without having heard all 6 of them, I guess, 5, it's hard to say because those are songs. In the old days, if it was a song that was played on the radio, in air quotes for Gen Z, it would be usually a song that was kind of like well known, Celine Dion or whatever. I don't know if these songs sort of make inroads, but Billie Eilish, of course, is very famous in her. So
okay, so the guilt vote, nice, strong.
Should we segue to original score?
Yes. So the nominees are American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
Can you believe that 92-year-old John Williams was nominated? I think this is like his 40th nomination or something like that. Something maybe more for all we know.
So how many did he win?
He's won a few.
Okay.
When I say 40, I think that means that his first nomination might have been for Jaws, which is 45 years ago.
So do we give him he's probably not going to live to see the next, the 100th anniversary of the Academy Awards award?
No, I'm not going to put the Maloik on him. No, he's going to be around for another 20 years. He's going to do the reboot of Indiana Jones.
Are they going to just give it to him as kind of like just in honor of his entire career?
He's won a lot, so my guess is no. I might go with either Oppenheimer or Poor Things. I feel like Poor Things, if you've seen Poor Things, the soundtrack is as bonkers as the movie.
Sweet.
It's just crazy, and it might kind of grab people. Oppenheimer, is that Hans Zimmer?
Yes. Wait, no, I don't think it is.
It's right. It's
which is shocking, actually.
Yeah, I think it's like it might be a European composer.
Well, Hans Zimmer
we're the worst.
Hans Zimmer is European.
We're going to do an Oscars podcast and do no research.
We research with our hearts.
What did you guys think of the Oppenheimer score? I know Doc was sleeping, so we might want to...
It was very peaceful. I put it on at nighttime, like right before bed. I'm out. Yeah. It's awesome.
Actually, I'm embarrassed because I do know this composer. It's Ludwig Göransson. He is
Yes.
very Hans Zimmer-esque. And yes,
Yeah.
I like the score. So that's going to be my vote. Oppenheimer.
I'm going to echo that, but I think Poor Things is my alt.
I thought it was Junkie XL who did Oppenheimer. He was on loan from Zack Snyder.
Dum 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 bomb. Blow boom.
Oh, Smoore, we're going to get red flagged on the podcast because you were so spot on. Copyright violation.
Oh my gosh.
S'more, are you doing like a Curly from Three Stooges impression over
Have
there?
you heard Junkie XL?
Oh my gosh, I'm dying. All right, throw out another category. This is kind of fun.
Real quick, I'm gonna go with John Williams because I just love John Williams. I don't know if he'll actually win because he's won so many times, but yeah, I just love me some John Williams.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. How about Best Animated Feature? And the nominees are The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Since the Annies, I don't know when, I think this podcast airs next week, which means it'll have been like a week after the Annies, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse kind of cleaned up. That's going to be my pick.
Same. I concur.
I'll go for The Boy and the Heron.
Aw.
Really?
Yeah.
I would love to see Nimona squeak in because personal reasons. Spider-Verse, first of all, it's the most successful, which is not why it should win, but, obviously it's occupying this very influential niche right now. Basically, a lot of animated films are parroting the look of the Spider-Verse. But I wish another film would win. It felt like it said what it said with the first film, and this is just more of the same. Whereas maybe like Boy and the Heron or Nimona, which is fresh, not a sequel, something kind of new, or Robot Dreams.
No, well, you have Elemental, so
I'm going to jump in because what you said about Across the Spider-Verse is categorically not true.
Yeah?
I actually like this film better than the original film because I think it expands on who the characters actually are as opposed to the original film. And I'm changing my vote. It's going to be for Nimona because I think I know certain people who worked on this and they're going to go after me if I do not choose this. So there you go.
yeah, I think if Spider-Man were to win, I think it's part of the, hey, we're the Oscars, we're hip and we're cool program. So I think that's why Spider-Man would win. But Miyazaki did The Boy and the Heron, which he's an Oscar darling.
That's true.
This is his last film. He's announced other movies as being his last film, but I think this is actually supposed to be his final one. So I think they might give it to him.
That's fair. I think Doc has a great point about Miyazaki, though, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. How about costume design? The nominees are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
Ford, what did you think of Poor Things? How was the costume design there?
It'll probably win. I was kind of just waiting to see what you guys were going to say. I think Poor Things will win. Now, having said that, Barbie could also easily win because they did a great job with just all the Barbie costumes. In all fairness, though, they're pulling from literally from the doll line in many ways, which is not necessarily a knock. It just means that one could make the argument. I know nothing about sort of the psychology of the voting block for costumes. I don't know if they automatically get impressed by period films or if they like originality or if they like something that really does something new and different. Mm-hmm. If any of those criteria takes precedent, I think Poor Things ticks off the buckets. It's period, it's new and crazy, and I actually, here in London, they had an exhibit, I don't know if it still is, of the costumes at the Barbican for free. You just walk in and nobody knew what the movie was. It hadn't been released yet. And I'm looking at some of these outfits, especially, the ones that Emma Stone wears. Yeah. I'm like, what is this movie about? And so I'm going to pick Poor Things with Barbie as an alt.
Okay. I'm going to pick Barbie for the reasons you mentioned earlier. Able to take essentially toys, dolls, and bring them to life. And I thought that was pretty impressive. Granted, I haven't seen a lot of the movies, but what I saw, I liked.
Which is really kind of too bad because if you look at like Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer, those are films with a lot of extras in certain scenes, and they're just not flashy because of the period that they're in, and it's kind of unfair. But the attention to detail, probably for costumers, are like, oh my gosh, did you see, the close-up of Robert Downey Jr.'s cufflink? How did they find that cufflink from 1950, whatever?
Well, it's interesting you say that because you're right. I agree. They're kind of screwed. Their costumes are excellent, but they are done so well that it looks like a film reel, and I don't think twice about it. It's like, oh, I'm watching a film reel for the 60s or the 30s or the 40s, as opposed to people had to go out, find these costumes, make these costumes, and match them correctly.
Oh yeah, they didn't go to like, the Louvre and just say, "Yeah, where's your archive of like, Napoleonic attire and we'll borrow it."
Right?
They had to make it from yeah. Or, there are some costume houses, but if you look at the period of each movie, I think each one offers something very unique. That's cool.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm going to throw in with Ford because I've seen a few stills from Poor Things. And I'll give my vote to Poor Things.
And my sister is also a costumer. And I hope she appreciates that we spent a lot of time and thought on this category. We didn't just like breeze through it. No, sir.
No, sirree. Okay, next one. How about documentary feature? And the nominees are...
I got to go to the bathroom. You guys talk.
Rude. The nominees: Bobby Wine, The People's President, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, and 20 Days Immortal.
Damn, look at these. Rotten Tomatoes, like most of these have 100%.
I know, right? I'm sure they're good. I've seen none of these films. I have no clue what they're about. So I'm just going to choose Four Daughters.
I'm going for The Eternal Memory. How about that?
I love that this is literally like we're at a dinner party and they're asking us like what we think, or we're taking over as host and we're being asked like, what were your thoughts on the book or the movie? And we're having to just bullshit our way through. We just
whip out.
I liked the message. Which part of it? Which message? Which person?
The title? Yeah, the message in the title.
The message at the beginning.
Well, it's hard to categorize what any segment is more important. They all have strong messaging. Just
the credits moved me. The credits just moved me. I'm going to go with 20 Days of Mariupol. I think that wartime Ukraine is probably going to be maybe a powerful topic. And not to say that the other films don't have more prescient and thoughtful, deep discussions to be had, but that's just my pick.
Cool. Okay. The geeks are split three ways.
All right. Moving on. How about international feature film?
Now, this is an interesting thing. I did not realize, I'm such an idiot, because I didn't realize that they had changed foreign language film to international feature film. Did they do that like last year or the year before, and I'm just now catching on to it?
I think it was a few years back.
I think it was a few years back. This has been around for a bit.
It's a while ago.
I must go to the bathroom every time.
You probably do.
Oh, well, my gripe. My whole gripe is I did not like that they had foreign language films also in the Best Picture category. Not that they shouldn't compete. If they're going to be treated like every other film, don't also have a separate category for them. And so now it seems like it's less of foreign language and more of an international film. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. A lot of these films like Poor Things and Barbie were shot in other countries, but I think these are actually produced and released by other countries, whether they have a foreign language or not. Yeah?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it was primarily done because the Academy recognizes that, the audience for film is gone global. I mean, a lot of people from different countries pay attention to a lot of different movies now. And I think they're trying to be a little bit more inclusive. And the nominees are Lo Capitano, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, and The Zone of Interest. Gentlemen, choose your picks.
I'm going to go with The Zone of Interest.
Me too.
I'm going to second that.
I'm going to third that.
Triple that, yes.
Triple,
yeah,
okay.
We already know it's nominated for Best Picture, so the members like it.
All right. So moving right along, should we go for a juicy one or do we still keep it?
Let's go for
we
a
haven't
juicy
had a
one.
performance one.
Okay. How about actress in a leading role? And your nominees are Annette Bening for Naiad, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, and Emma Stone for Poor Thing. Gentlemen, make your picks.
Ooh, there's some good performances there. I have seen at least 3 of them. I think I'm going to go with Lily Gladstone.
Okay.
I think the Oscars do like to sort of reward newcomers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
But if I had to do an alt, I'd probably pick Emma Stone.
Okay, so the buzz I hear is Emma Stone. She'll probably take it this year. I have seen Carey Mulligan, and while she was very good, it was sort of a meh for me. So I'm going to go for Emma Stone only because I hear she's fantastic in the role and she's the big buzz.
I'm going to go for the other Stone, the Gladstone, Lily Gladstone.
Okay.
Well, I think we've picked at least one. I mean, and I don't mean to sort of slight any of the other performances, but Lily Gladstone, her character was very compelling and was, in a Scorsese film opposite Leonardo DiCaprio. There was a lot of attention around the film. Emma Stone may have given the performance of the year because she goes out there and puts herself out there and does things in this movie that I don't know too many actors in her peer group, male or female, would do. So, wow. I mean, I know if you haven't seen the movie, I do recommend it. It is off the wall. We could talk about, the film maybe later, but she is a powerhouse. There would be no movie without her. She literally, I think she's in almost every scene.
Okay.
And she's just fearless. I don't know how else to put it. She's just fearless in that role.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to see it. I've heard good things about the movie. I just haven't gotten around to it. I know it's in theaters currently. So, yeah, when I have a chance, I'll check it out.
Now, she has won before. So I don't know, that doesn't always hurt. I mean, you look at Jodie Foster, you look at, Daniel Day-Lewis, Tom Hanks. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Meryl Streep, right.
Okay.
And now, back to the show.
So you guys want another juicy one, or should we go for another low-key one?
Another bathroom break?
Yes.
Let's do juicy.
Juicy? All right. How about Best Director? And your nominees... What?
You went very juicy with that one.
I did. Super juicy. That sounds weird. And
it really does. I'm uncomfortable, especially after Poor Things.
Please don't cancel me. And your nominees are Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Gentlemen, make your picks.
We're going to make Doc say it.
Say it. We're going to make you say it. You know you want to.
Say what? No, I'm not saying that.
You know it.
I know what you don't want to say, but I know what you feel you should say.
Doc, go with your heart. We already know.
Justine, try it.
Boo.
Boo. Since Doc is
Coward.
Doc is fearful, so I'm just going to speak for him. And I'm speaking for me too. I'm choosing Christopher Nolan because he tackled a big subject, and the way he executed that subject was very interesting to me.
Look, there are some really strong directorial choices here. Anatomy of a Fall, that woman has now, everybody wants to work with her. Martin Scorsese, I'm not saying he wouldn't get chosen, but he's Martin Scorsese. You just never know. Poor Things was probably one of the most original things I've seen in a while. It took sort of a familiar trope of the Frankenstein myth and combined it with, like I said, I think I described the movie like, it take like a Wes Anderson, Tim Burton fable and put it in a blender with a little bit of Guillermo del Toro, a little bit of Baz Luhrmann, and it just was just crazy. So Yorgos could have a thought.
That sounds
Zone
terrifying.
of Interest, another film that's getting up there. But I wonder if Oppenheimer might kind of get a little bit of a reward since, he wasn't nominated for Dark Knight, which was a kind of a game changer. I think he was nominated for Dunkirk. And I'm not saying he deserved to have been nominated for Inception and Interstellar, but I just wonder if this is a little bit of a...
Make good?
Not that he's at the midpoint or later in his career, but he's done a pretty good...
He has a good track record.
Big body of work. And this film, to your point, tackles something very complex. I think he'll win, but I wouldn't be surprised if there could be an upset.
Okay.
I could definitely see Nolan winning for all the things that Ford just said. And the guy is like single-handedly keeping the serious film box office going. People of all different kinds of groups have gone out to see Oppenheimer. So whether they be serious moviegoers, indie moviegoers, even fans that he got during the Dark Knight trilogy. People are going to see his movies.
So are you guys saying that this is going to be a make good win, or this is going to be a well-deserved win?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I just want to throw one thing out.
Yeah.
There is a big hole in this category that caused
absolutely.
a huge stir.
Absolutely.
And as such, I wonder if there might be a little bit of voting backlash, which makes no sense because, the way I think it's rank voting. I can only speak for people I know who are in certain guilds and how they vote, and they're asked to pick. I think with Best Picture, for instance, they'll do they have to rank it. But I think with, like directing, they might just pick 5. I'm not sure. And I bring that up because one could say, hey, if Greta Gerwig was supposed to have been nominated, why would you think that people would do a protest vote because she wasn't nominated? Because they could have nominated her. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I was going to say, it is a possibility that the reason why there might be a backlash to your point is because Nolan is a front runner. And so they want to say that, you know what, you did not include someone who should have been included. Screw your front runner. We're going to vote for this whomever. That's a possibility. But I want to ask you guys, first of all, do you think Greta Gerwig was excluded, so to speak? Or do you just think that the Academy felt that they're just simply better directors than she was.
They only have 5 in the category. That is established. And one of those could have just squeaked ahead of her.
Yeah.
Or they could have all had an even number of votes and she got 19 instead of 20, or 18%. You know what I mean? She
Right.
could have been very close. I imagine she was.
Right.
Yeah, I know it's pretty common for the Best Picture nominees, the directors of the Best Picture nominees, to be nominated as well. So I don't know what the limit is for nominees for directing. I know for movies, like we talked about, how it's 10. Directing might be a smaller group. So it just kind of leads me to believe that the Oscars nominated Barbie as Best Picture for the, like I said before, it's like, hey, we're hip, we're a cool program. It's kind of like, we nominate movies that do well at the box office that everyone goes to see, but maybe they just didn't feel that way. Yeah, I think she should have been nominated.
Well, how cool would it be as an upset if Justine Triet?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Try it.
For Anatomy of a Fall won, because it's been a complaint for years that female directors have been shut out, and more are actually doing prominent films. We obviously had Chloe Zhao win a few years ago. That was a big deal, I think. But I think that it would be interesting to see if Anatomy of a Fall won in directing, with a kind of a wink to the fact that she's the only female in the category. Yeah. And Greta, who probably should have been in the group. It's just a good group of directors, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's this isn't one where like people could say like, yeah, you're a shitty director and how'd you get in this group? They're all great.
Yeah, that was my thinking too. It's like, it could be just possible that, because these are all good directors. Maybe it's just so many good directors. Unfortunately, Greta just didn't make that cut. Yeah. She's good, but maybe
do you guys know what the limit is for nominees for this category?
No, but you would think if they nominated 10 films, why not 10 directors?
Yeah, I think it might.
True.
I think there might be a limit.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. It makes it a little more interesting, though, I think, if you've got 10 films and only 5 directors. But
okay, let's go for a smaller bathroom break category. How about visual effects? Your nominees are The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. Gentlemen, make your picks.
I'm going with Godzilla, just because I was a Godzilla fan. I didn't see the movie. I want to see the movie, but I love Godzilla. So to just see that a Godzilla movie got an Oscar nomination is great. Yeah. The 8 or 9-year-old in me is very excited.
Yeah. The biased Marvel man in me is going for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 because I love the MCU and I'm biased. There, I said it.
I would kind of like to say Guardians as well, but members of the Academy just kind of see Marvel Studios and they kind of scoff.
Roll their eyes.
About it. Yeah, roll their eyes. Godzilla -1 has gotten a lot of really good reviews online. It's done really well. I do love kaiju, so I'm going to go for Godzilla -1.
Well, what about The Creator? Because that was a film that, it was kind of the more original film. No, it failed to do well because it didn't get horrible reviews. It just didn't get buzz. It's topical. Probably should watch it. I just haven't. Mm-hmm. But when I saw the trailer, what it had going for it was amazing visuals. So if you're an effects person, I'm wondering if it's a film where people are like, yeah, that was really impressive. Which then you look at a film like Mission Impossible where a lot of times the effects are hidden. Maybe what's impressive to effects people are the invisible lines of visual effects and how cool that was. Like when, Cruise is doing the bike jump. If you know how they did it, it was actually done on a ramp. And then visual effects went in and painted a whole mountain around it. It had to look really real. I don't know. Napoleon, same thing. Maybe crowd scenes and recreating the environs of France in that era is really impressive to people who are in that industry. I don't know. I just know that Godzilla had a low effects budget, and what you saw on the screen was every penny and really well thought out, from what I understand. Like they really took a low budget and did a lot with it.
Yeah, and it's a period piece, and I hear they do a lot of new things with Godzilla himself. So
okay. Cool.
All right, so we're pulling for Godzilla, maybe Marvel.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay. How about original screenplay? Yeah, your nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. Make your picks. I'm going to say I've seen all these pictures.
Oh, you have? Nice.
Yeah. I might have to go The Holdovers.
That's what I'm thinking.
Because it was a really interesting film. It was a little unexpected. It's called a partial comedy, and there were some funny moments. I'm not sure if I would call that a partial comedy, but I thought the writing of that film was very, very strong. So that's going to be my pick. How about you guys?
I'm also going Holdovers. Just hearing what a lot of the critics had to say about it. Yeah, that's my pick as well.
I'm going to disagree. I like Alexander Payne a lot. I think this film is not as good as Sideways. I was a little disappointed for the reunion of he and Giamatti. We can talk about Giamatti later, but I feel the teacher who warms up to this, who gets sort of lauded by the students at the end, we've seen. I've seen it in Dead Poets. I've seen it in Goodbye, Mr. Chips and other comedies. So I feel like it's going to be one that stands out a little more. Doesn't mean that it wasn't a well-written movie. I just think for an Oscar film, I look at stuff like Parasite. I look at films that like when they look at a screenplay that kind of came out of nowhere. From what I've been reading, and I haven't seen it, my pick is Anatomy of a Fall, and my alternate is going to be Past Lives.
Okay. I just want to make one more note about the holdovers. Yes, you're right. We have seen that dynamic. However, I felt that there was an interesting choice made in terms of the main character. He really, truly isn't a likable main character. You feel pity for him, but you don't necessarily root for him. And I think that was done by design, and I appreciated that. How about, should I go for a juicy one, or do you guys still want a bathroom break one?
Juicy.
By the way, our most interesting conversations have been on the less juicy mainstream categories, by the way.
That's true.
I feel.
How about actress in a supporting role? Your nominees are Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks, The Color Purple, America Ferrera, Barbie, Jodie Foster, Nyad, Divine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers. Make your picks.
I'm going with Divine Joy Randolph.
I will also go with Divine Joy Randolph.
Mortimer! And I will thirdly go for Divine Joy Randolph because she was amazing in that film. Absolutely.
It's also a role and a performance that's kind of tailor-made for that category. I think the category really likes the people that have a bit of a story in their role, but almost could have its own story in another movie. That's kind of the way I feel. I don't always think that somebody should shine in a supporting role. Some of the best supporting roles, I think of like J.T. Walsh in A Few Good Men. Yeah. Not as flashy as some of the other supporting characters, but that's the point. They are supposed to support the story. They're not supposed to stand out. And a lot of times the best performances are the ones where it looks so effortless, they don't grab attention. I think we get caught up, especially in just acting in general, with the attention-grabbing performances. We miss the ones that are just believable people. And I felt she was a believable character in a believable role, or a believable performance in a believable role.
I agree with that. Moving right along.
But we don't want to have any dissension. We just think she's going to crush it.
Yeah.
Totally. That's it.
That's it.
The geeks have spoken.
The geeks
I think the industry has spoken. She's won several categories.
If she doesn't win, we riot.
I mean, look,
Right.
I've seen a lot of the other actresses in the other films, and they were fine, but none of them moved me like she did. She moved me. And you're right. Her performance, I wouldn't say it stood out. I would just say that she did it so well that it was believable, completely believable. You forget that this is an actress doing a role. That, to me, says a lot.
I would like to do a shout out, though, just, not for predictions, but just a shout out to America Ferrera, because she had the monologue of the year, arguably. A lot of that goes to the writing, not to say that any actress, is going to come in there and just do a good job, but she took that, very poignant monologue about what it is to be a woman, and she killed it. So I just want to give her a shout out for that.
Good. I agree. And that was a really great moment. And that's the only movie I thought she was actually good with. Not that she was bad, but that was
it's like she's like the mom role in a Disney movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the focus goes to her daughter and and to Barbie. And when I say that, I mean like it's kind of on the surface you feel that way, and then Gerwig gives her basically
her moment.
Yeah, what you think is going to be the moment for the main character, they give it to a supporting character, and I think that's cool.
Okay, moving right along. Bathroom break. Short film, live action. Your nominees are The After, Invincible, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. I've seen none of these pictures. I'm going to go for Henry Sugar because, well, it just sounds funny. Henry Sugar.
No, that's Wes Anderson. These are a series of Roald Dahl short films that are on, I think they're on Netflix.
Yeah, they're on Netflix. It's like 40 to 50 minutes. It's a quick watch. I enjoyed it. Like when I was first, it has the great look because it's Wes Anderson.
I'm sure there's some really good films here. The After, Invincible, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue. Red, White, and Blue! I just feel bad because I have not seen them, and therefore I just threw out the one film I've seen.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So, I vote The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar.
I don't think it'll win. It's just my pick because I've seen it.
Yeah.
All right. All right, let's knock out these juicy ones. How about Best Actor in Supporting Role? And your nominees are Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. What are your picks?
I think I know what we're all going to say.
I know what I'm going to say.
I kind of want to say that, but
Come on, man. It's Iron Man. Come on.
the main reason I'm hesitant is because a lot of Robert Downey Jr. isms come out in his performance, which we've seen him do in the MCU. But yeah, he was good. He was good.
You know,
It's funny you say that because the person I saw it with honestly didn't know who it was halfway through the performance.
Really?
Which is completely contradictory. So yeah, someone who's not aware of the marketing and didn't see the trailer didn't know who it was.
Wow. So what is your pick?
I feel like he's going to get it because I think people, it's hard to reward people who are wildly successful. You know what I mean? Sometimes like, it's kind of the reason that certain like Tom Cruise has never won an Oscar because he's like, you're Tom Cruise. You're one of the richest actors. Your films make all this money. You don't need more accolades. Downey, of course, kind of falls in that category, but only in the last decade.
Yes.
I think people forget that Downey is kind of one of the best actors of our generation.
Agreed.
And may that, honestly, we almost lost him physically and career-wise.
Did you watch Dr. Dolittle? Okay.
No.
Did
Yes, I
anyone
agree
watch
with you.
Dr. Dolittle?
He has some habits and he has some tricks that he leans on. A lot of actors do. I think personally, I think Ryan Gosling is one of the most the biggest chameleon actor that people don't realize. Like you look at like Ryan Gosling's work, he is very different in a lot of different movies.
He is. He's a good
Sometimes
actor.
it's a little more subtle.
He's a really good actor.
And I think Jake Gyllenhaal kind of falls in that category. Like they get pigeonholed as like these good-looking young actors. First of all, they're not that young anymore. They've actually put in a decent amount of film. But Gosling, I mean, I saw the trailer for
Fall Guy,
and I was like, that's the guy from Barbie. And then I just watched like a little bit of The Big Short, and I'm like, that's the guy from Barbie. Downey can be a chameleon, and I think this film allowed him back, kind of opened up like, oh, welcome back to acting, Mr. $75 million a movie Marvel guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So are you going for Gosling or Robert Downey Jr.?
I thought Sterling K. Brown was great in American Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely a supporting role, meaning like he really helps the movie, kind of fills it out, and he certainly steals every scene he's in. Mark Ruffalo, also very good in Poor Things, in a role we're probably not used to seeing Mark Ruffalo do.
Right.
De Niro, the actual guy that guy's based on is like half his age, so I don't know.
Yeah, when I was Mark Ruffalo's performance, I saw a little bit of Bruce Banner coming through. So, I'm joking.
But he is the Hulk.
He got mad, and I just felt like I'd seen that before.
He got mad and figured out that it's with Gwen Stacy now. She's back. They brought her back, and
well, it's also a very like Emma Stone. It's a very brave. It's a very brave performance, and I think what we mean by brave, when we say brave, we mean naked.
Doc, you saw I did that, right?
Yeah, I saw.
Okay,
I got what you did.
John did not. John did not. That's okay. Who is your pick? Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah, I'll go with Robert Downey Jr. I do enjoy him. When he got for Chaplin, he just got nominated. He didn't win, did he?
He didn't win. He's never won an Oscar.
Yeah, I'll go for Robert Downey Jr. because, like I've mentioned before, like a lot of these performances I haven't seen, so I'll go with Robert Downey Jr.
He has to return the award if he gets up there and says, "I am Oscars man."
Wow, dad joke. I'm going for
Moving right
RDJ as
along.
well.
I am Gold Man.
Okay, so RDJ is unanimous for us. All right. Moving along, we're going for Best Actor in a Leading Role. And our nominees are Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Gentlemen, what are your picks?
I got Jeffrey Wright.
I got Giamatti.
I think I have Giamatti as well. So Paul Giamatti, looks like we've all chosen Paul Giamatti, correct?
Yeah, I think this is also a makeup. This is a make good for, I still quote this as the largest oversight, that he wasn't even nominated for Sideways in 2004 or 5. So yeah, I think they're going to give it to Giamatti.
I went Jeffrey Wright, but
Jeffrey Wright. Okay.
Again, I haven't seen a lot of these movies, so
Jeffrey Wright is a
great.
good actor.
He's great in American Fiction. But the funny thing is, his character in American Fiction is in some ways very similar to Paul Giamatti's character from Sideways. Not as morally flawed, but just in terms of like he's a teacher, kind of a failed writer.
Yeah.
Same character that Paul Giamatti, did 20 years ago.
So is he copying Paul Giamatti? He
No.
doesn't want no fucking
I'm
Oscar?
throwing that as just an anecdote. By the way, it's Cillian Murphy with a hard C. I had to correct that myself. He's very good in Oppenheimer, and it's almost like I don't think people realize how integral his performance was to that film, because he's in almost every moment of it.
Yes.
And a lot of it is very much like just close-ups on his face.
Mm-hmm.
He, when he's not talking, he has to show a mystery because the character is an enigma, but also show sort of like what we were seeing that's informing that performance. And it's not as showy a role. He doesn't have the big, giant, eruptive moments that you see in a lot of, Bradley Cooper, of course, buried under all that makeup, had to direct the movie as well as do the performance. That's impressive. Anyway, so yeah, I think Giamatti will probably win. Okay. And he's good.
Yeah. Cillian Murphy, Cillian, as in K, Cillian, for all you Cillian Murphy fans out there.
The Boston Celtics. Yes.
The Boston Celtics. Yes.
Tomatoes.
Potatoes. No, Cillian Murphy was really good in the role for all the reasons John said. I just felt that Giamatti nailed the character he was trying to portray. And he did it in such a way where, and I'm not sure if this was a choice on the director's part, he's an unlikable person that you feel sorry for. And he did that very well.
Look, I'm not going to say he shouldn't win. I think the performance in Sideways was one of the best performances I'd ever seen, and he had done that. So in a way, this is an extension of that role, maybe added on some years, and he's got a little bit of a disability. But he was unlikable and flawed, and you felt sorry for him in that role. But I think also that's just something that he embodies. He's kind of done some sad sack performances, and it's what he gets cast in.
Right.
But I think that that combined with Divine, Joy Randolph, I think shows that like that film, maybe the actors like that film.
The Actors movie.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright, I still haven't seen American Fiction. I will get to that. So I know that he's just a damn good actor and pretty much everything I've seen.
And Jeffrey Wright is not a showy actor. He is not an actor.
He's understated.
He is definitely an actor that helps tell stories. It's good to see him first of all, it's great to see him just be in the spotlight and get nominated. Mm-hmm. I feel like he's sort of been on the periphery of stardom. Yeah. And Cillian Murphy to some extent too. I think both those guys.
Murphy? Yes.
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm sorry, I've not seen Rustin, so I can't comment on Coleman Domingo.
Same here.
That guy is like the performance of the year. I feel bad.
I think both our picks are pretty strong because I know Jeffrey Wright and Paul Giamatti, pretty much in all their roles, they're pretty strong. So
well respected by their peers. So I think that's a good bet.
And brings us to our final category. Drum roll, please. Best Picture. And your nominees, we have 10 of them this year. American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Gentlemen, what are your picks? Okay, I will go.
Nobody wants to go.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one, especially because there's 10 movies to pick from. I've seen 4 of these movies, so there's 6 that I haven't seen. Kind of like what we discussed before, Zone of Interest is already in the international film category, so I think that gets eliminated.
Okay. So who's your pick, Doc?
Man, I don't think it's Poor Things. I don't think they'll give it to Barbie, which it would be awesome if they did give it to Barbie. That would be a surprise. And again, I haven't seen a lot of these movies. Maestro, I think that's just Oscar bait. I don't know. I was watching that movie and pretty, straightforward. Has a lot of the tropes that we see in like biopics. Yeah. You know what? I don't really think this should win, but I'm going to go for Oppenheimer.
So you do acknowledge your deep, deep love for Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're gonna put the photo of Doc in his Halloween costume and Photoshop an Oscar in his hand.
Yeah, I'll get on that.
That'll be the marketing for this episode. This is a tough one because the cigar is usually the cigar, meaning the film that's sort of swept in a lot of other places. Christopher Nolan just won the DGA award for best drama. It just seems like, well, why would you? Are you just being contrarian to be contrarian, and not pick Oppenheimer? But Best Picture is also where sometimes there's a surprise. It used to be just like if the director wins, then you know what's going to be the Best Picture. But sometimes there's that surprise. Oh, yeah. So Nolan could take Best Director, but there could have just been some spillover votes for Barbie.
Okay,
but I don't think Barbie will win. Maybe that's just one of those. You got your $1 billion+ That's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how many of these films have you seen, John, and which is your pick?
I've seen 6.
Okay.
And
It's pretty good.
I mean, Poor Things I just thought was just so original. I think I'm going to go with Oppenheimer for sort of the cigar. Like Barbie, it was the second film of the year, meaning that just people talked about it. One could make the argument like maybe Barbie and Oppenheimer will split the vote, but I don't think voters vote for them because they were the most successful films. I think it's sort of what's accessible. Having said that, it's a long movie. Maybe the Academy voters who don't go to the theater didn't want to sit through that in Killers of the Flower Moon just for the length.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I held off from watching Oppenheimer for a long time, not just because it's Nolan, but I actually thought it had a longer runtime. And then after, when I found out it was 3 hours, I was like, oh yeah, that's doable. So I sat down. It took me 3 sittings to watch it, but I did watch it.
Did you fall asleep?
Yeah, I took naps.
So there's a little bit of Ambienheimer for Doc. What a shock.
That was my bathroom break.
Wow. But I don't understand your deep, deep, uncompromising love for Nolan, right? All right. I agree with you, gentlemen. This was a very tough category. I've seen 6 of these films. I have very strong opinions on each of the films I've seen. To your point, I don't think Zone of Interest is going to take it because it's already in the foreign film category, and I think it'll take it there. I have not seen Killers of the Flower Moon because it's long. I will eventually get to it someday. Poor Things, but I hear good things about it. I do want to see it. And I've yet to see American Fiction, which I do personally want to see because it has personal meaning for me. Of all the movies I've seen, I think the movie that will take it will be Oppenheimer because of all the reasons you guys have listed. I think this is Nolan's year. It's won a ton of awards already in the Golden Globes. It is a compelling film. It is a good film, but I think that's a film that will win. However, that is not the film I would choose personally as the best picture, even though I think it's going to win and I think it deserves to win. The movie that really struck me the most of all the ones I've seen so far, honestly, is Past Lives by director Celine. I can't remember her last name. Forgive me. Because of the subject matter. It's a very simple subject, i.e. it's the dynamics of a romance that never came to fruition and the consequences of that and the speculation of what it could have been, I found very compelling. I found the use between 2 different cultures, Korean and American, compelling, the way she juxtaposed the cultural differences. And I just think that the acting was very understated, which made it a little bit more real for me. I believe that the supporting actor who played the husband of one of the main characters did a really, really good job in being a person who is essentially caught between a romance, a faux romance. So I would pick that personally out of all the films I've seen as the best picture. But I think Oppenheimer's going to take it. And, well, it's Nolan. Come on, man. It's Nolan, the maestro of directors. Speaking of maestro, I felt that, to your point, Doc, it was Oscar bait. I felt that even though I give my hats and my respect to Bradley Cooper for acting and directing, it felt very almost borderline cliche.
Paint by numbers.
Paint by numbers. And I'm sorry, I felt, even though this was supposed to be a story of Leonard Bernstein, it didn't feel like a movie about Bernstein. It felt like a movie about his wife featuring supporting actor Leonard Bernstein.
Well, I don't always have a problem with that.
I had that feeling by the end too.
The marketing of this movie and the direction of this movie that was sold to me was, this is a biopic of Leonard Bernstein, and it was, but it wasn't. I think they left a lot of stuff on the table. I'm not sure if they were playing it safe. I'm not sure if he was trying to go for a different angle, but I felt this movie was lacking. I'm sorry.
I agree with you. I think it was trying to go from a different angle. I don't necessarily think that the concept of having a protagonist and have their story told a bit through the eyes of those around them is necessarily a poor narrative choice.
No,
I think that
it's not. Citizen Kane's a great example of that.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that this project had been you can tell it's a passion project. It,
Definitely.
I think at one point, I think Spielberg either had wanted to direct it or was encouraged to direct it, and then ultimately encouraged Bradley to follow his passion because he really cared a lot about this character. I think that it would have been a very different film had Bradley just been an actor and not also been directing, because that's a very tricky thing and very few people attempt it. And frankly, very few people should attempt it. That to be sort of an objective eye on a film while you are subjectively performing in it is a really tough pony trick to pull off. And, Eastwood could do it. You mentioned Orson Welles. There's just a reason so few people have done it, because it's just daunting. And
It's hard to do, yeah.
And it is hard. Mel Gibson did it, but he doesn't do it a lot anymore. He understands how hard, like a lot of directors, how hard directing is. Costner hasn't directed in a while. To jump in and out of that, and especially given the parameters of the makeup and how long he was in the chair. I mean, God, it must have been a nightmare on those like assistant directors who are like, all right, is he done? Is he? Because the director has to answer every question. And if the director is spending 3 hours with this incredible makeup job, I mean, it must have been a nightmare. But I agree with you. I think that it definitely felt a little bit like, look at me.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen like, what was it like working with Sondheim on West Side Story? I would have liked that angle.
That's my point. Yeah. It felt like he left a lot of stuff on the table. He skimmed his life. Yeah. And the stuff that we really cared about, he just didn't go into. It's implied, but he didn't go into it. It was more her story about her struggle and the sacrifices she made. And that even felt hammed up to me. It felt like Oscar bait. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they didn't focus as much on his music as I thought they should. Real quick on the makeup, the aging makeup looked great. But then when they showed the de-aging makeup, and I was like, okay, now that looks bad. He looks like he has like wearing a rubber face to me when he was younger. But yeah, it's like, how many movies have we seen where it's like you have the main character is married or in a relationship, and you have their partner struggling because like of infidelity. It's like we see that so many times in these movies. Yeah. And it was just, I'm watching it, I'm just like, it is, it's like they would, have scenes where it was her, and it was her struggling and kind of dealing with, him going off being with other people.
I will give it credit, because there have been a string of biofilms where it ends in tragedy. And this film, I don't want to spoil for people who haven't seen it, but, a main character dies, but it's a natural death. The tragedy is just the loss of that person in their life. But ultimately, the protagonist, it's about that character's perseverance and lust for life. So it doesn't end with the sadness of, oh God, that person died young, or that person got into drugs and died. At least the main character, their storyline ends kind of on a high note, because they got to continue on. Well, that was a lot to cover. Jesus.
That was a lot. But hey, we got through it. I think we had a healthy discussion. Yes, we didn't see a lot of stuff, but you know what? We can still speak intelligently to it. Or at least pretend that we can speak intelligent.
And maybe we should watch some of the films that we, form opinions on. That's usually what happens at most Oscar parties, is lots of opinions, little viewers.
Very true.
Now, after having this conversation, I kind of regret not seeing a lot of these movies.
Which film do you regret the most not seeing, out of curiosity?
I wanted to see Poor Things for sure, and The Holdovers, and American Fiction.
I want to see Anatomy of a Fall, and now I want to see Past Lives.
Yeah.
I did see. I saw Past Lives. Of course, I saw Barbie, I saw Oppenheimer, and I saw Maestro.
Okay.
Well, I guess the rest of the predictions we'll leave to the viewers. We've got a couple of weeks now. I don't think we'll circle back with an episode to show how right and wrong we are. I think we'll have gotten... People will have had an ass full of the Oscars.
Another 2 hours. People get it. We're fine. We're fine. Go see some movies, people. See movies. Support the industry.
Yeah. All right. So on that note...
Thanks again to those both openly geeky and closeted geeky for joining us on this expanded universe journey. This has been Doc, and with me, as always, are my geektacular co-hosts,
John H.H.
and Smoore. And remember that this is your safe space to talk about all things geeky, and where you can get your shiny gold Oscar Geek on.
Geek Out!
Hooray for Hollywood! Hollywood!
Thanks for listening to Cinema Craptaculus, where you can always find handmade podcast episodes, no AI here. Subscribe and listen to Cinema Craptaculus, where you can always find hilarious movie and TV reviews, along with top-notch pop culture and showbiz news commentary, if I may say so. The Expanded Universe is produced by John H.H. Ford for the Cinema Craptaculus channel. You can find Cinema Craptaculus on all of your favorite podcast platforms. And you can find us on social media using the handle @Craptaculus.